Hey, thanks for tuning in to Larger Curves today. Make sure you smash that like button and smash that subscribe button. If you haven't already, hit that bell so you can get notified next time I upload a video. Today on Larger Curves, you know I have to get to my wonderful melanated goddesses over at Married to Medicine. Yes, it was part 2 of the Married to Medicine reunion, and we pick up with Quad continuing to tell us about Contessa filing for separation. And Contessa, remember last week, she told us that anybody on the stage could tell you what things had happened. And in the meantime, Scott's in the back wondering why Quad is up there talking about their business and having issues with it. In the meantime, Quad is like, he's really not getting it. She is serious about this separation and taking time to herself. And Scott's like, oh, she's blindsiding me. This is not what we talked about. I knew about it, but I feel like I'm blindsided. And especially with Quad telling me, and Curtis is saying, oh no, you can't worry about who's saying it. You have to go out there and talk to her. You have to go out there and talk to her. Curtis was really good about saying you have to go out there and talk to her, Scott. And Quad was continuing to say everything about Contessa and Scott's relationship. Now, as a viewer, I was like, why isn't Contessa speaking for herself? And that's actually where Scott was too. So Scott was on his way actually out the door. He's like, I'm out. And he was getting ready to leave because he was so upset that Quad was sitting up there telling everybody that they were going to get separated. In the meantime, Eugene had a problem with it too. It's not really his business or anything, but he had a problem with Quad delivering the message too. And for some reason, Scott was more upset about Quad telling the information and feeling, quote, blindsided by information he already had, that he physically was leaving the reunion. Now, check this tea. He was already so late, they thought he was going to be a no-show. So he shows up hecka late. They start saying what he is doing in the relationship. And he said himself that she filed for separation 6 months ago. So why are you leaving, Scott? Why is Curtis having to talk you down, Scott? Why is Curtis having to practically beg you to go talk to your wife, Scott? Why? This is weird, people. I don't know what the heck Scott is trying to hide or what Scott has going on. For real, that this type of behavior is what we have to witness at the reunion after we saw their issues during the season and everything, but I thought they were trying to work it out. And she said they were having a separation to try to kind of work it out too, like just taking some time, right? So why are you leaving, Scott? Why were you late and why are you leaving? Stay and fight for your woman. You have to stay ready, don't get ready. You and Contessa have what you have. I don't know what you're running from. You better come clean and you won't have to run, Scott. You will not have to run if you just come clean, in my opinion. Because then he ran out to the stage and the men rallied behind him after they talked him back into the studio. They rallied behind him and they were waiting in the wings while Scott, sat on stage for a moment and asked Contessa, why is Quad telling all this stuff? And she was like, because it's what's going on, Scott. And he was like, we talked about it, but why is she saying anything? And Contessa was really kind of cryptic and secretive. And the other ladies were looking like, girl, we see what you're going through. And Scott was doing this gaslighting scenario thing again. And gaslighting in as much as they're asking him straight up, Scott, do you have another girlfriend? And he's like, oh no, I just said that in my phone that one time. Look, I can pull my phone out right now and it just says, call my girlfriend, and it calls Contessa. And they were like, did you just put that in there? And he's like, no, I didn't just put it in there, but I took it out and I put it back in here. Come on, get your life straight, Scott. It's a whole lot of double talking, cuteness, Your cuteness is getting you in trouble. Oh, yeah. And then he acknowledged that he was answering DMs. Okay? He's answering DMs and commenting on them, saying, damn. When people send him DMs that he likes, he's like, damn. You know what kind of damn that is. Anyway, in the meantime, Contessa is affirming a relationship that she wants with her husband by posting these types of pictures of them smiling, happy on her Instagram. And it's confusing to not only us, but her co-stars, as it turns out, because they're like, oh, you just have to do more stuff to manifest the relationship you want. And Contessa's like, you don't understand. I'm doing everything I can. I can't do any more. And if you want to still be my friends, you have to pretty much stop saying things that make me the blame, because I'm doing all I can. As a wife, I'm doing all I can. I know I have my family at stake and everything. I'm doing everything I can. I want to go to counseling, and he's not willing to go to counseling. The one thing I want, Scott, what is it? She said in front of everybody when he came out here. This is what she's saying right here. What's the one thing I want, Scott? What is it? He didn't know. The ladies on the stage knew. It's counseling. So then they all walk off, because what has Scott done every time they get in conflict this season? He walks Contessa away from the rest of the pack, right? So he can have her one-on-one, and he can get in her ear, and he can say what he needs to say to get back in her good graces and gaslight her just a little bit enough more that they are okay for now, until he decides he's ready to go when he gets confronted about the truth. Anyway, Scott, I'm done. You need to come clean. You're looking really guilty. I love you guys as a couple, but your answers are wrong. Think about the answers you're giving your wife. Do you want your daughter to have these answers from her husband? That's pretty much an unresolved situation. We move on to the Jackie and Simone, Dr. Simone and Dr. Jackie rift, right? Why is there this rift in your relationship, ladies? And they're going back to when Simone had an issue with Jackie because Jackie was spending too much time with Heavenly, and she felt like Heavenly was in between their relationship. But it used to be all three of them hanging out. So I call BS on that, Simone. I'm not sure what's really going on with you, girl, but you're looking really green around the gills. Looking a little jelly, girl, because Dr. Heavenly is not to blame. Dr. Jackie herself is telling you that her issue with you, Dr. Simone, is that you repeatedly asked me to apologize to Buffy during that time, and that you did not have my back against Buffy and tell her that this is my good friend. She meant you no ill harm, Buffy. She didn't mean you any harm. And instead, you and Buffy spent the season attacking me, and you didn't have my back. And Simone blaming Dr. Heavenly for anything of this is so asinine, is so crazy. It's crazy, crazy. So then Quad decides to say to Simone, do you see yourself having a relationship with Jackie again? Outside of like even what's going on with Dr. Heavenly. And Dr. Heavenly's like, no, Simone just doesn't like me. I've reached out to you, Simone, a number of times. You're not responsive. I've done all I can do. I haven't even done anything to you. I'm not to blame. And I haven't done anything to you. And I know that when you say you and Jackie made up, Simone, you're faking it. I call BS. Dr. Heavenly said she calls BS because she knows for a fact that Simone and Jackie haven't talked since that time that we saw them at the reunion. They're not hanging out. They did that scene in the show this season, and they're not hanging out since then. They're not calling each other since then. And Simone says, well, you know, it's a work in progress. And then they ask, what's your real problem with Dr. Heavenly, Simone? And Simone says, oh, my problem with Dr. Heavenly is that during her live, she talks about me all the time. However, let's remind the jury that every live Dr. Simone had, she spent the entire time with the crew, an entourage, to talk about Dr. Heavenly. So, tit for tat, pot meet kettle. You can dish it, but you can't take it out. You both do it to each other. So I call BS on that too. And so did Dr. Heavenly. Dr. Heavenly's like, I haven't really said anything bad except for about your teeth. And you do have an overbite, you know, but what have I said that's so bad? And Simone was like, well, you hurt my feelings. They all act like Dr. Heavenly doesn't have feelings, you know, and that's really ludicrous. Next, in the final segment, we have the men come out and basically only get to introductions. Anila's husband says a hello. All the other husbands say hello. Eugene is asked a question about DMs, and he gives a very, I know my wife Toya is watching, answer that you tell them I am married and block them. Actually, Curtis does not do social media, so his answer was, I don't know if you block them immediately. Yeah, but it's okay because he doesn't have social media. And they were just asking Curtis, what's the rules to being married? And Cecil. They asked Cecil, what's the rules to being married? He said, your wife's always right. Your wife's always right. Your wife's always right. So that's pretty much where we left off for the reunion part 2 of Married to Medicine. There wasn't much resolution. Looking forward to next week's final reunion part 3. Thanks for tuning in to Larger Curves today. That was a really quick snippet of my synopsis of review for part 2 of Married to Medicine. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.